Hello. Right, I'm just going to do a quick video today on the Eurozone. In the background we have, what should we call it, Greece negotiating with Greek holders of Greek bonds about whether those Greek holders of Greek bonds would kind of like to come to an amicable arrangement about how much Greece is not going to pay them, or whether it's just going to come down to the fact that Greece will just then say, look, so we will not pay you this much on these bonds. And it's a tricky sort of negotiation, muddied by so many things that it's just out of my understanding. So there's only one chart to look at today, graph, whatever we want to call it, little diagram, flow diagram. The future of the euro. Gavin Davis's crowd have put this together. And I think I can go along with its simplification. It's quite instructive, I think. That's why I'm just going to concentrate on this in this one video. So over on the left there, it starts with number 3, and I think that's in a way fair enough to call it number 3, because it's most unlikely of the 3, and we read agreements reached on rapid fiscal union, fiscal targets met in the periphery, ECB helps finance interim liquidity needs, EFSF is expanded, and the ESM, and the euro survives. Now, let's just say that if all that list of stuff was the prerequisite for the bottom bit, which is euro survives, then that is definitely putting that into position number 3, as in the most unlikely position. Let's go on to number 1, peripheral countries leave. Now, I think most people would agree that that is again the most likely happening. First Greece goes, and then Portugal goes, and then we run into problems, which I might come back to. The second most likely, or unlikely, depending which way you're looking at it, Germany and the Netherlands abandon the euro and form a new currency. Or stay with, no, it wouldn't be staying with, would it? They would form a new currency. In other words, Germany and the Netherlands form a core currency. Now, I don't think that particular angle is right, but that's just from my limited psychological knowledge of I've worked in Holland for a few months. But in those few months I found that the Dutch people dislike the Germans more than anybody I've ever met, even the Greeks. I don't think the Netherlands would go out with Germany. Germany might go out on its own. Germany might go out with Austria. But I very much doubt if it would be Germany and the Netherlands. But as I say, that's just on the limited amount of people I've met in my limited existence. But it wouldn't be... I'm blowing this up for the Dutch government, and I don't think they could sell going out of the euro with Germany. It would be problematic enough, but to go out with Germany, I can't see it. Austria, okay. So if we just change that to Germany and Austria abandon the euro, or even just Germany abandons the euro, I would actually put that for my first place. Because if we go back to number 1, peripheral countries leave the euro, and then we roll that forward where I stopped, it becomes so problematic that I think it loses its first place position. So what we get is Greece does a hard default, or comes to an arrangement with its creditors. It doesn't matter, but somewhere along the line, according to this idea, Greece leaves. Then Portugal leaves, and we're seeing it, and we're nice with it. And then Ireland leaves, and this is where I think it gets extremely tricky and highly unlikely. For internal reasons for Ireland, it would just be be suicidal for Ireland to leave the euro currency. What Ireland is based on the euro. All the good stuff that they've had is based on the euro. They are English-speaking people in the euro with low corporation tax and all that sort of thing. And the people have gone there because of that. To go back to the punt or try and adopt the pound, I think it would be suicide. But that's a small point. That's just a small point which starts us stopping at Ireland. The big point is you look at Greece, you look at Portugal, then you look at Ireland, and then you mentally knock Ireland out, and then you go, shit. Because then you bump into Italy and Spain. And where do you go there? To follow number one, we have to then decide, are Spain and Italy peripheral or not? And really, you've got to say yes, they are. So you've got to go Greece, Portugal, Ireland, Spain and Italy out. And then we bump into France. It is just about possible that you do that, and then you've got this horrible problem of France. Would it be advantageous for France to stay in a core euro? If you run to the bottom of this in green, we'll come to whatever the middle box is. Small euro rises very sharply. Core euro would rise very sharply. It would be a strong currency. So if we kicked out Greece, Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Spain, would France survive with a very strong currency? I think not. So which should we run down now? Let's go to the far right and to 2A. So in my mind, we've got Germany and Austria abandon the euro and form new currencies. Remaining currencies also abandon the euro and relaunch national currencies. So by Germany, really Germany going, but I'm just saying Germany and Austria, or Germany, Austria, Netherlands, if we like. Germany, Austria and the Netherlands leave and form their own currency. Would the remaining countries, France, Italy and Spain, let's say, hold their own, go with the euro? You'd think they definitely would, but this is a possibility that they all go, right, okay, that's the end of the euro, because quite frankly, what would you have left as your triangle would be France at the top, Italy and Spain at the bottom with stragglers round it. I think the world would recognise it as an accident demanding an absolute disaster as soon as possible, please. I don't think it would fly. France at the top, Spain and Italy at the bottom, and stragglers, it just wouldn't flow. But down at the bottom right, we get euro ceases to exist, leaving legal disputes over all euro contracts. In other words, if Germany leaves, the knock-on effect could be everyone goes back to their old currencies or introduces new currencies and leave a horrible contract. It'd only be horrible for absolutely everyone but lawyers. My idea a couple of months ago was, could the countries of Europe set official rates for contracts, as say France pulls out, they say the official rate is this for paying back euro contracts. Would the sovereign be strong enough to be able to hold that sort of line? So the new debt would not have to be paid in variable currency. I don't know. So the far right line is everyone goes back to their own currencies, and the turmoil in contracts would be horrendous. To be remaining countries retain the euro. This you'd think would be more likely. Germany, Austria and Holland are out, and the rest stick on to they would try and hold the euro currency, because the triangle, France at the top, Italy and Spain, would be in enough trouble anyway. It'd be all sorts of shit flying around the place, and then actually to try and then wade in with a new currency as well on top of all those complications would be suicidal. So I'm sure they would try and hold the euro currency together themselves, set up a new central bank, whatever it might be, and try and hold the complications to a minimum. would get to the red box at the bottom. Smaller euro falls very sharply. Without Germany, Holland and Austria, that particular euro triangle of France, Italy and Spain would probably plummet to 0.7 to the dollar at its lowest and then rebound back up again and rattle somewhere between there and parity. Would that be good for them? It could well be, but you can imagine the fuss it would cause. But it would avoid for them the big right-hand box of euro ceases to exist, leaving legal disputes all over the place. It would, if they tried to do that, it would keep the complications to a minimum. So it is a go. It is a possibility, that one. Let's go to one again, which it was Gavin Davis's and his team's favourite. Peripheral countries leave. Germany and France lead, move to fiscal union, smaller euro survives. In other words, Merkel, Sarkozy, we know that those as leaders would be out, but they actually drive together and get a real unified core Europe, and smaller euro would rise very sharply if they could get their shit together to really get those France, Germany, Finland, Holland, Austria, those core sort of countries. That would make for a very strong currency. But would it work for them? It would be very tricky, because we've noticed in this world now that most of the drive behind the scenes that's never talked about is to drive the currency down. And how much would they struggle? Germany, because of its efficiency, could probably handle a strong currency, although it's a major exporter. But I'm really not sure that other countries, France, would be able to survive with a forced strong currency. France would naturally have a currency exchange a lot lower than that dark green box of smaller euro rises very sharply. I don't think France could survive on 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. What would they mean by very sharply? Up towards 2 to the dollar? I don't think France could hack it. Right, over on the number 3, agreement reached and all that lot. It's just so highly improbable that we won't get euro survives, and we won't get euro up as confidence rises. That's, I believe, what they will aim for. That's what Merkel thinks that she's aiming for. But it just seems to me that they're aiming for the impossible, which is what they've been doing since they started thinking about this euro currency. So it's a kind of, why stop when this is what you do in life? You just aim for the impossible. But somewhere along the line, they must realize that all of these things that are biting them endlessly and daily, inside and out, and all these conferences and summits and all these complications are called reality. And all these little nibbles are all reality nibbles, because you're screwing up something chronic by aiming for something that is impossible. But to come back and admit that you've made 15, 20, 25 years of mistakes is not very Euro-politically viable. So they'll probably push on with the impossible and eventually end up with one of the other two options. Anyway, very interested to see what you peoples think of it. Bye.